Show me a little wrath.
Oh, the boys. This was the one show that I could count on to be stupid, silly, disgusting, unabashedly, unashamedly gross, crude, rude, and it's just gone and broken my heart.
I'm okay. I'm okay. What's your name? I'm okay. Okay. I'm okay. Oh, come on!
Now, there's not going to be any spoilers here. I'm not going to go into any kind of great details about what happens in Season 4, as obviously a lot of you haven't watched it yet, but just a quick overview of Frenchie's character development over the past few seasons. Now, we've had 2 seasons building up of Frenchie rescuing Kimiko, getting close to her, learning sign language. All this build-up, all this background, creating a particularly deep bond with her, and all of that's now been pretty much just flushed down the toilet. His sexuality was ambiguous anyway, really, I suppose, if you look at some of the stuff that is mentioned and the subtle things that are mentioned earlier in seasons, but it wasn't a focal point, so it left some room for interpretation by the audience. And some fans now feel that this revelation is inconsistent with his established character, and other people believe it's just a blatant forced attempt at inclusivity or, pandering to modern sensibilities. It seems that this has been shoehorned in. The change is so sudden and it's not well developed at all within the storyline. Representation in modern television is now starting to become so obvious and glaring when it's on screen that immediately everyone's kind of jumping online and expressing their distaste for it. And it's nothing to do with anyone being gay, it's nothing to do with gay, it's to do with how it's just being shoehorned into the story, into a narrative. It just doesn't fit, and it doesn't make sense. Oh, obviously some fans, so there's the counter to that, some fans appreciate the representation and feel it adds depth to Frenchie's character. I disagree. But, some critics argue that exploring different facets of characters is a natural progression in storytelling, but his character was well established. It was well established. It was dark, it was gritty, there was drug use, he had a very spotty past in France, and there was some abuse and all sorts of crazy stuff going on with this character that's well established. So it wasn't as if his character hadn't been fleshed out. I think a lot of the backlash is it's a mix of character loyalty. People are loyal to the character, and there's this resistance to perceived changes in character dynamics, especially in superhero comics and books. People are attached to these characters. They've grown up with them, or they've been reading them for years, and then when something happens that's so quite jarring, it's almost like someone slamming the brakes on and you're slammed against your seatbelt. It kind of snaps you out of what you were watching. You suddenly become aware that this thing isn't very natural. I think the biggest issue that a lot of the fans have got at the moment is this significant portion of the backlash centres around this idea that making him gay was an attempt to cater to current social trends rather than a natural evolution of his character. And some fans accuse the writers of tokenism, suggesting that this decision was more about ticking a diversity box than genuine character development, and it does feel like that when you're watching it. Sitting with a friend, we watched the show and we both looked at each other thinking, we know what's about to happen. And you can just tell when you're watching it on screen it was going to come, and I was thinking, please don't do it. And they did it. And it's almost so obvious now. You're watching a car crash happen in slow motion. We're kind of just looking for consistency when watching shows. When a character that is well established does something completely out of character, who's been established for 3 previous seasons, it's a bit of a kick to the head. But in conclusion, the show's willingness to tackle such topics, despite mixed reactions, highlights its commitments to pushing boundaries, I suppose. It's always been edgy, and I think most of its edginess has come from the fact that you're seeing superheroes doing things that you would never imagine a person would do. Only the lowest of the low, a psychopath, would commit. And because it's so visceral on screen and so bloody and so gory, and they look like they're finding the most screwed up ways to shock the audience, this, you would think, would feel like it's kind of like a nothing burger, but it really does feel jarring. Anyway, that's all I've got time for in this one. I just wanted to kind of discuss that topic and see what you folks think of it. Did you enjoy the reveal with Frenchie, or did you think that it seemed forced? Leave your comments down below. I'd love to know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one.